Hello everyone, welcome back to more AEW and TEW 2020. We are here week 2 of July 2022, just following our 4th of July super shows. We're starting off with our show of Dark. I accidentally pressed next segment instead of record. Our starting match was Vipers defeating Brooke Havoc. Brooke Havoc just brought in on a one-night deal. Then we have Top Flight defeating the Gun Club. And then Utami defeats Jessamine Duke. And afterwards, Maki Ito's music plays, and the cutest wrestler in the world comes out singing a song that's essentially a pop diss track on Utami. Utami actually takes it all pretty well. She just stares stone-faced at Maki and her zombie backup singer who is just making zombie noises. Utami eventually gets a mic of her own. She does have plenty of time to rest. And she says that Maki's all bark and no bite, and Maki says, well, I mean, Abaddon does all the biting, being a zombie and whatnot. And Maki and Abaddon start to try to make their way to the ring to confront Utami, but they are stopped by backstage staff. This is definitely not a feud that will be exclusively on Dark. Maki is currently well known. Utami is a great in-ring worker and also recognizable. Abaddon is also recognizable. Lucas Fenner defeats No Way. No Way Jose, again, just like Brooke Havoc, that we didn't see, brought in on a one-night deal just to be defeated by a budding talent. Brock Anderson then defeats Shawn Spears. And afterwards, Brandy Rhodes comes out and she talks about the intense training that the Nightmare family does, how it's led two of their hot prospects, Lucas Fenner and Brock Anderson, to wins over veterans like Shawn Spears and No Way. But before she can finish boasting, she's interrupted by the lights going out, and when they come back on, all of the members of the Cult of Cole, except Adam Cole and Utami, are in the ring. So that's the people who are shown on screen, as well as Joey Janela. Just don't have room to add in Joey Janela. And they all beat down on Brock, Lucas, Arn, and they even do some damage to Brandy. And the Cult leave without explaining why they did that. Lady Christina defeats Yuka Sakazaki. Minoru Suzuki defeats Matt Cardona. Taya Conti defeats Taya Valkyrie. Lady Lydia defeats the Bunny and cracks her ribs in the process. After this, a vignette plays showing Scott Steiner and his workout group. While most people are working on weightlifting, the camera zooms to Scott yelling at Willie Mack on a treadmill. Scott says that Willie Mack looks fat and he should get bigger and buffer, especially after over a year working with Steiner. Mack finally snaps and says that he's happy with who he is, and that Steiner is just holding him back from being himself. Steiner flips out of this and yells at Willie Mack to leave, concerning everyone else in the Papa's Pump with the sudden outburst. And Mack leaves in a huff. Scott Steiner tells everyone to keep their own reps up. Some dissension showing in the Papas of Pump, as you can see. Nat Murphy foreshadowing a heel turn. Steiner, both Steiners and Nat Murphy going to turn heel, but not yet. Don't want to do surprise turns. You may notice ratings be better from here on out. I turned off strict storylines, which I probably should have a long time ago, but and that is fine. Main event, Lance Archer defeats Trent. So, 65 rated show of Dark, not the best, but still pretty good. We move on to Dynamite. Moving on to our show of Dynamite, we get a fantastic immediate note as Miro sprains his ankle. But he does defeat Dijak with the Bullplex. Why did that match suck? Okay, it was just because of the injury. CJ Perry has a mic, and she steps into the ring after the match. She says, "My husband, Miro, is on his way to redemption. He's made mistakes, and he laments over them every night. But now, he is on his way to claiming the hearts of all, back on his way to being the very best version of himself that he can be." She points to the stage, where the Tron shows that Miro is ranked number 1 for the world title. Miro is ready to take on all challengers, CJ Perry continues. Adam Page, you'd best be ready for Miro, because he will take that world title from you, fair and square. So, Miro, #1 contender. He'll be the next challenger for the world title. And if he can win it in a fair match, no dirty tricks, nothing like that, just clean, right to the point, he wins a match, no problem. He will be happy with that. After this, Renee Paquette interviews Mayu Iwatani about her title reign and how she needs to prepare for her next opponent, Shotzi Blackheart. Mayu says, I've worked with Shotzi before, and she's a tremendous talent. Yes, she does have a loss on her record, but that loss was to me, the champion. And she provided a great challenge for me in that match. She's a very different performer from anyone else. Very different in the ring than anyone else I've ever faced. And I imagine she'll do even better with the promise of a title on the line. I am more than excited for the champion against the Devil Warrior. Mayu I apparently forgot how to talk there. Mayu, her whole thing is that she is, she's a fighting champion, but more than that, she's a respectful champion. She's someone who really is, she goes out there, she wants to put on the best matches out there, and she will always show respect to her opponents, no matter who they are, because they're all very good talents. After this, Jurassic Express defeat the Good Brothers. After a Canadian star, AJ Styles, was on the commentary desk. And again, as it says, he was on commentary, and over that, he says he was putting over how much he really loves Jungle Boy as an in-ring talent, and how he wants to bring him over to the Bullet Club. That's why he offered to commentate this match against his good friends, the Good Brothers. After the match is over, AJ comes over, he repeats this desire to Jungle Boy, saying that he's floundering right now, working in a crappy team pretending to be a discount Tarzan with a dinosaur for a friend, when he should be at the top of the card. He's instead languishing in the mid-card, fighting against pretty much no one for no stakes whatsoever, fighting in a tag team. But Jungle Boy, he says no, and he just walks on by. So AJ, so far failing to recruit Jungle Boy, but we'll see how things go off from there. After this, there's a cut to the VIP's lounge, where MJF is livid at the destruction that Miro caused last week when he invaded the VIP's lounge. I'm imagining that, this is in the penthouse, there's stuff trashed everywhere. And of course, because they're doing this to MJF, who is an absolute asshole, it's perfectly fine. And then Miro, instead of, waiting to get his recompense, goes off and challenges for the world title. MJF, he's very mad at this. He's talking all the time. He eventually says, Miro's destroyed my lounge. He's stolen the spotlight from people who deserve it, and now his stupid slut of a wife is going around proclaiming that he's the good guy. Well, I've just about had it up to here with his bullshit. Now, it's time for me to show everyone who the real star of AEW is. The greatest damn thing that the entire wrestling world has going for it. People like him, people like Paul Heyman, people like you stupid fans aren't appreciating me. And he storms off. But we stay on the VIP's lounge. We kind of just pan over a little bit where we see, Dashwood, Deonna Purrazzo. They're kind of like, yeah, sure, whatever. And behind them, TV flickers on. Shows a fancy beachfront property. It's a very tropical scene. Palm trees. There's the sunny beach. It's, you kind of have it's a very cliche vacation look to it. Voice comes on from this, which I don't know exactly how they would do. Obviously, don't want to spoil who the big new signing is. I would imagine that they would do some voice modulation, or at least some changes, but not, so much that it's super obvious that it's changed. But, Same time, I do think this person has a recognizable enough voice that that someone who would actually be listening to this would be able to tell who it is. So I don't think I want to make it that obvious. And the voice says, "The VIPs have all the luxury in the world, don't we? The high-rise apartments, the fancy meals, the penthouse suites, the servants and suck-ups begging for recognition and begging for money. But there's a life even more amazing than that of the VIP lifestyle. The lifestyle of someone living in paradise. Janelle Dashwood and Deanna Prazo, you have extravagant lives, but nothing will compare to someone like me. Someone living in the palm beaches of paradise, a real A-lister star. Your B-list wealth, your B-list attitude. While I am living the life that's truly fabulous, the life of someone in paradise." So, a bit cryptic, but try not to spoil any big surprises. After this, Io Shirai with an amazing 88 performance defeats Kira Hogan. And Kurt Angle's music. Yes, Kurt Angle, of all people. He comes out with FTR and Layla Hirsch. He says, "Now, Io, I know you lost last week to Mayu Otani. It was a great match, don't get me wrong. She's a great competitor, but there's something that you can do more here. And have you ever considered getting a coach? I mean, a real legend in the business, a team of gold medalists like those in Team Angle." And he's about to get ready to continue his sales pitch when Io, she's been demanding her mic the entire time. Like, I imagine Kurt Angle's music hits. Before he even starts talking, Io is looking to the timekeeper like, "Please just give me a mic." And pretty much this, as soon as she gets the mic, and she just yells at him to shut up. She says, "Your team has done nothing, Kurt. Layla Hirsch is a legit joke. FTR is nothing. Former champions that have done nothing since. Betts and Sabre Jr. have been disappointments since coming to AEW. Why would I join someone to make my career worse?" And Kurt Angle, he's very good at playing up this sort of comedic angle. He, overplays being offended. He's obviously is a little bit insulted that basically his entire credibility as a coach has been questioned. But he plays it up extra in the way that Kurt Angle can do. And he's ready to talk back. He's ready to be like, "Well, no, hold up." Maybe he even does some hold up. But the real holding up is with Layla Hirsch and FTR stopping her from charging the ring. Layla Hirsch showing a little bit of a hot-headed attitude. I haven't really done much with her, trying to show it a little bit more. And FTR, they're holding Layla back. Io's like, "Come on, just bring it on. I can wrestle another match." And Kurt's like, no, not allowing this. I need to talk with my team. We need to work this out. Io, I'll get back to you with my proposal for being your coach. Io leaves, FTR leaves, Layla Hirsch leaves. Io is just in the ring. She's confused and she's ready to she wants Layla Hirsch's challenge, but Kurt doesn't want Io's challenge. Maybe. Samoa Joe is preparing for his upcoming match that's up next when CM Punk comes in. And Punk starts talking. He says, "A big match against Kip Sabian? Whoever that is." Anyways, Joe, we've known each other for a while. I mean, we're some of the best wrestlers of our generation and all. We had legendary feuds back in PWG and ROH, and I'm honored to be working with you again. There's just one little thing that I need to talk to you about. About last week, when Pac's hooligans started beating us up after that match. You managed to save one of our team and get away. So my question is, Joe, I thought we were friends. Why did you save the new kid? This person that you had rarely ever met before. This person that you don't really know in person. Why did you save him instead of me? And Joe, he's still focusing on getting ready for, getting into a match mindset. Yes, it's not a big match. It's Kip Sabian. And Joe just simply says, he was closer. Here's his music hits. He storms off Punk, staring on a little bit frustratedly. He's watching. He's just like, Come on. Really? And that ends up costing Joe as Kip Sabian gets the surprise. Not what was meant to happen. Okay, so ignore the note about Penelope Ford. This was just Kip Sabian gets a roll up on Samoa Joe after CM Punk comes out. He's basically trying to offer to coach Joe, is what I'm thinking. Joe's like, yeah, I don't need that. He almost gets the coquina in on Kip. Punk comes out. Joe starts talking. Kip Sabian, he manages to get up, roll up, 1, 2, 3. I hope we... Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Joe is pissed off about Punk after the match. After Punk accidentally distracts Joe again with that coaching. Joe calls Punk into the ring, and Punk is like, yep, sure, why not? And the two are arguing off mic. They're getting face to face. And after a little bit, Joe pushes Punk. Punk pushes back. A little bit of a brawl ensues, and eventually Joe gets the upper hand because Punk's not really prepared to fight today. And Joe chokes out Punk. Refs are trying in vain to break it up. Joe knocks Punk out. And things not going great between the two former ROH standouts. After this intense scene, we go to something much more casual with the Rose Garden, being attended to by a lot of people. Your traditional people. In this case, it would actually probably only be Vipress would be noticeable of actual members of the Rose Garden. A bunch of other hired people. And the main star of the show is Sammy Guevara being sort of a main attendant to Garza. And, I'm imagining Garza kind of just, Sammy hands Garza something, I don't know, like a wine glass. Just because, I don't know, it seems like something that attractive people would drink. And Garza just says to him, Sammy, you should have just taken the match first instead of trying to be fancy and get an extra win, but that's not what I'm worried about now. At this point, he turns to the camera, focusing on that, and Sammy, he's in shot most of the time. Like, I imagine there's a little bit of a zoom in going in on Garza's face as he's talking, but Sammy's not happy with being here. And Garza starts talking again. He says, next up is Bronson Steiner, the son of a dog-faced gremlin, and, well, I'd say he's rather dog-faced himself. For the past year, the TNT title has been the most beautiful, the most attractive, the sexiest championship in all of pro wrestling, held tightly by the god who's more beautiful than a rose himself. To think that I would be stomped out, to think that I would have my championship plucked by someone like you, well, it's a ridiculous proposition. But I'll accept your challenge. I'll show you why I am the longest reigning champion in AEW history. So, Bronson Steiner is the number one contender for the TNT title. In our main event, that is not what was meant to happen. What was meant to happen was, if we go into road agent notes, yeah. So, what was meant to happen, I will explain here. Darby is preparing for a coffin drop to finish off Desmond Xavier. However, before Darby can get fully ready, Pac rushes out and he pushes Darby off of the top rope. Darby crashes into the barricade, that's the stunt bump. And Pac is just watching DQ for the match. And after this, Brutality Inc., they all come out, they drag Darby into the ring, and they're just beating the shit out of him. Darby Allin is getting just ganged up on intensely. And Pac, he's sitting on the top rope, he gets a mic. I imagine probably like Killer Kelly brought him a mic or something like that. Killer Kelly seems to be the usual errand girl for Brutality Inc. And as he's sitting on the top rope, he talks about how Darby's always trying to put his body on the line for pro wrestling. How people love him because he has no regard for his own safety. How he throws himself off of everything. How, it isn't over until you're dead. All this stuff. and Darby is willing to give up everything to win a match. Pac's willing to accept that challenge. He's willing to accept that. He's willing to see what Darby's real response is to having his body put on the line. And it will be tested time and time again from Pac. It'll be tested time and time again from Brutality Inc. The show ends with probably Brutality Inc. They clear out just so that we can get the good ending shot of Pac sitting on the top rope. Darby's laying down. Pac has the mic. He has an evil smile on his face. Show ends. We get a 78 rated show. We have seen better, but this is not bad at all. I do think that turning off strict storylines will help me a lot in the end, will help ratings a lot in the end, because I believe the show, the heat of the heat of storylines goes down with every show that is not going on, and since I'm not progressing every storyline, every show, no brands, nothing like that, and it just kind of ends up with a lot of my storylines are middling around a 65 rating. When I do the culmination, even if they have great angles the entire time, even if I've done them, maybe one Dynamite, then the next week's Rampage. So, strict storylines, that'll help, but good show. We move on to Rampage on Saturday.